Welcome, Walnut. I'm Lara, but you can call me Laz, your host for Walnut Wednesday. This is your reminder to be brave, be yourself, and know that you can make the world a better place just by what you decide today. Here, I'm going to share my weekly walnuttings with you on a Wednesday. Hello, Walnut. It is me, Laz, here for another episode of Walnut Wednesday. I hope you're having a wonderful week. Oh, Walnut, today has been a very interesting day. It is late in the afternoon, and it's taken me a lot to get out of bed and stop crying. I've been very hormonal, emotional, stressed, and I wanted to share the little part of the stress walnutting with you because I think it's been a really good learning. So Walnut, if you're not aware, I'm currently undergoing the symptoms of a condition. So a little while ago, I told you that the condition that I have is pregnancy. And I'm just trying to navigate through that, but also I don't want the whole of Walnut Wednesday to revolve around it. So I'm just kind of still sharing my walnut journey because this is part of it, but also just being mindful that I don't want everything to be about this. But in this particular walnutting, I think little aspects of my condition are kind of like peering through. So anyway, I'll kind of just get to the point, Walnut. But to create a preface, I identify as a functional scatterbrain. I kind of like, my brain is always like ticking at a million miles an hour. I always have thoughts. I always am like making lists. I'm a little bit OCD with things, probably a little bit undiagnosed with like a couple of the Ds, the ADDs and the things. But I'm a resident scatterbrain, and I feel like I like label myself as that. In the past, I have often, double booked myself or tried to do two birds with one stone for events. And all of these things have been part of the Walnut Wednesday journey in regards to being present and, worthiness, people pleasing, all of that kind of good stuff, right? So I myself have learned to accept and grow and behave alongside this functional scatterbrained behavior. And it's not to make excuses for it. It's just like, for me, okay, this is how I function. This is what I'm going to do about it. La-di-da-di-da-da. I have perfected and crafted how I function with lists and calendars and things to get myself in a position where, I can call myself a functional scatterbrain now. But a new development with my condition is I think that I have hit the baby brain phase. And Walnut, I saw a video. I've actually been watching a lot of videos that have sent me on multiple spirals, but I watched one that said women in this condition actually lose brain cells. It just gets lost. And then it comes back and everything goes, you go back to normal, but it's just like a part of this journey. And I was always just so naive, kind of like, the stretch mark thing, where I always just thought, oh, well, I'm a scatterbrain anyway. So, I've got this nailed already. Oh, Walnut, this weekend has been such a spiral looking back. I might cry in this episode just because I'm still a little bit stressed and emotional about it. But I got really, really cross with myself because I double booked myself. And this wasn't from, I couldn't blame Mercury retrograde. I couldn't blame anything. It was just the way I had put an event in my calendar. I color coded it wrong. And so I thought that it meant I could go away on a trip. And so, and I wanted to attend both of the things with equal amount. And I had to do the whole like pros and cons list. And that feeling, Walnut, when you're just like in complete indecision and it's just agony. Where once you make a decision, you're like, okay, now I can go and make action steps from it. But when you're in the looming, like, what should I do phase of making any kind of decision, it's so shit, isn't it? Um, so that was really, really stressful for me, Walnut, because either way, I was letting people down or letting myself down with something that I wanted to do and wanted to enjoy. Like they were both big yeses for me. Um, and I found myself just really taking it to heart because um, I couldn't blame anything. I couldn't even blame resident scatterbrainedness. I couldn't blame Mercury, like I said. I literally, it was in my calendar. I just didn't read it properly. And I I just I just spiraled. I spiraled because I was just so disappointed with myself, Walnut, to the point where I spiraled and then I spiraled about my spiraling. And I must have been such a pest to my friends around me this whole weekend because, yeah, I'm going to talk about that in a second. Um, but yeah, it made me behave. I could notice the patterns of, like, the overcompensating behavior trickling in. Like when I was leaning to one thing, I was like, oh, okay, well, that means I'll send this person flowers. And then when I leaned towards the other thing, I was like, okay, well, I'll buy these treats. And I was like making all of these like exceptions and justifications and things like that, where nobody was making me feel like I had to do these things, but it was learned behavior from so long of my life, people pleasing and feeling not good enough, feeling, all of the things of where you don't like yourself. And because I was already mad at myself, I felt I was doubling down on those kinds of feelings where I was like, I'm just being so annoying and everyone's going to get so annoyed with me. And then I just expanded that for myself, and no one was annoyed with me. Everyone was being extremely kind. I got talked off so many ledges, not actual ones and not in that context, but um I I couldn't, I still can't just accept the fact that I had made this mistake and that it was okay with both parties. It was okay. No, everyone, like from the one side, when I said I double booked, it was like, oh, okay, man, sweet as. And the other side was like, so good, man. Sweet as. And they all had their little, like, bells and whistles attached, like however the amount of time I see people and all the things. But everyone was just like, sweet, that's sweet as. You do you. But I was not receiving and accepting that grace um and kindness. And I ended up making my decision, and it actually all like kind of worked out really, really well, which I'm not gonna get into. But yeah, the one option actually just never ended up being an option for either Geordie or myself because it didn't end up working out at all. It's been quite a disaster weekend. I've been so stressed. Um, but even at when I was at the oh, I hope Kevin doesn't bark. Even when I was at the decided event, I was talking so mean about myself, and I was just like, oh, I just messed everything up. I messed everything up. And my friend called me out and she was like, you didn't mess anything up. It's bloody good to see you. You know what I mean? So like, and when she said that, I was just like, thank you. I was just like, okay, I need to start receiving this. Like what people are saying to I have to believe what people are saying to me, right? It's genuine. And the kindness was actually that they were my friends weren't lying to me when they were saying, no, don't stress, you do you. It's literally a non-event, a non-issue. I don't care. You're not letting me down. Then obviously say those words, but yeah, just to get that kind of like slap on the wrist, like shut up. And then I was like, oh no, I'm being so annoying, I'm being so negative. But I just was so all consumed. And then I kind of like on was reflecting on the fact that I think I've hit it. I think I've hit I think I've hit baby brain. And it's making me feel like I am quite mad. And just purely because of the amount of disappointment I had in myself over something that wasn't actually a big deal and was even said to me multiple times, it's all good, don't stress. And I couldn't receive any kindness or grace from anybody external to me because I wasn't even giving myself that. Um, I was just like, no, this is something it's because I'm going through something and this is a new way of 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 behaving that I don't understand yet, that I haven't learned about myself yet, that is coming as part of potentially this condition. And yeah, I guess, well, then I just sort of wanted to talk through like how important it was for me to actually get to actually hear one of my friends say, no, you're not whatever, I can't even remember what I said. I mean, you're not insert mean thing I said about myself. It's bloody good to see you. Um, was just so powerful. Um, and I was trying to explain myself to Geordie, and in a less delicate manner, he sort of said, well, no, I'm not going to let you talk mean about yourself because it's not true. And I was kind of just expressing that how I feel like a failure. Like it makes me feel the dots that aren't connecting, um, is frustrating me because I've nailed the functional scatterbrain. I know how to deal with it. I know how to make moves if I mess something up. But this is like completely different because it's just literally fallen out of my brain and out my butthole and gone somewhere, and I can't get it back. And I was talking to a friend who'd been in the similar situation and been in a similar condition. Um, and and she said, yeah, you can do all you can put the post-it notes up or whatever, but it doesn't it won't go there. And I guess it kind of like freaked me out, Walnut. And then yeah, I've just been such high stress about this. So for a good like 24 hours, I was stressed about making the decision. And then when I made the decision, I was stressed about being annoying to people because I was so over the top, overcompensating of feeling guilty and bad and like I had messed everyone around, even though no one made any, like that wasn't true. But because I was mad at myself, I just amplified it so bad that when I got back from the event that I decided I wanted to do, I had like a full tension headache. My back was aching, my legs were aching. Like I was full exhausted just from the mental strain I had put on myself just worrying. Like I have quite really sore like shoulders from just um putting myself through that. And it's bizarre looking back now, but I just noticed um how I was clinging on to all these little things. Like there was a bus replacement instead of the train, so I had to stand on the bus, and like all sorts of these things were just like, oh my God, I've done this to myself. This is my fault. I'm the worst, and I'm a horrible friend. Um, and then all the other things like with Geordie, then he had a thing happen to him, and I was like, oh no, now we're gonna look like even horrible a friend. Just was a real disaster. And when I was talking to Geordie, sorry, I don't know if I dipped out of that and then back, but he said, I know, Laz, and I know, oh, because I said I feel like a failure. That's right. And he said, I know, Laz, but you just have to just deal with it. When that happens, deal with it. It's not a big deal. You just have to get over it and just carry on. And I was like, okay, but you're being quite direct, and because I was crying like usual. Um, and he said, I know, but I'm not going to be all nicey and fluffy with you when you're talking nasty about yourself. And again, that was like the other comment where it was like, you're fine. It's good to see you. Geordie's version, although be a little bit harsher, was what it's just what I needed to hear because I needed to hear it in a different way. And I think these things, Walnut, are really important to share because one, it's listening to the people that you care about, that care about you, and that you care about their opinion. Two, the importance of actually cultivating relationships and having those people around, because all of my, I wouldn't call it trauma, but all of the stuff that builds up and, made me overcompensate in the past and all that kind of thing came from trying to people please people who we just weren't each other's peoples. And when you're young, you don't know who you are and you're kind of searching for that. So having those people in your life, but also one thing that sort of like come up out of this as well, Warner, is I've had some messages, and this is probably a side tangent, but about how I put myself out there for Walnut Wednesday on the internet. But I've had a couple of messages saying, like, oh, I've noticed that you're really struggling with this. Here's my, not feedback, but what I went through going through this condition and da 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 da. And I find myself on the defense because I'm I don't feel like I'm struggling. I feel like I'm vocal about this. I, Walnut, going through this now myself, have realized how naive I have been about people in the past who have gone through this condition. And I've noticed that it is because no one talks about how shit it is. you know, um, there is this weird little ingrained societal condition that we have to be grateful 24/7 for this wonderful gift, miracle, blessing, which it is and is completely allowed to be. But at the same time, it is allowed to not be a sunshine and rainbow. And Walnut, that I always talk about not everything is love and light, especially like with the social medias and everyone putting like happy families on the Instagrams and all the things. Yeah, so I think that's also something that's come up for me too, is outside of my crisis and my madness, where I feel like really like a nutcase 99% of the time. Um, I am vocal about it because from my experience as someone who wasn't in this condition, I didn't I didn't realize all of these things because nobody talked about it. Now that I am in this condition and I'm talking to like my girlfriends and other women, like, yeah, look, this ain't no picnic. This kind of sucks sometimes, Um, it the responses I'm getting are like, yeah, it really does. But you think of this like when you think like someone tells you they're pregnant, it's all, yay, congratulations, oh, you're glowing, what a miracle, blessing. And look, I say again, it is a miracle, it is a blessing, it is magic. The female body is like absolutely delicious for all of the stuff that's going on. I feel like a superwoman that I'm able to do this, and that other women before me have. But it's also allowed to be shit because it's not fun. Look, it's not fun to me. Some women absolutely love this experience, but yeah, I just kind of noticed that it's not widely spoke about that it's not glow, it's my sweat mustache, because I just like found it hard to walk up a tiny flight of stairs, you know? So that it's kind of brought about a little bit of that part as well, or not. But oh yeah, so your resident scatterbrain, this my walnuting this week is admitting that I think I have caught baby brain, and you know how much I hate like being like everybody else or going along with trends and things, but I think I caught it. I'm got to get out of denial, and like Geordie said, I just have to accept the things for what they are, and it's bringing about that sense of just again being present. What can I control? What can I, it's just like, okay. But yeah, it just was so eye-opening, all of the changes going on throughout this walnut, because I worked myself up into such a frenzy this weekend. Like I said, that I actually had physical symptoms. I had headaches, I had body aches. I was just, because I mentally just completely overstimulated myself with worry and old old things that kind of got bubbled up, that when I sat back to kind of talk about it and actually listen to what the wonderful people in my life were saying to me, like, thank you for coming, you're such a good friend, da, 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 like all of the things. When I started to hear those things, it was like the deal got lesser, it was less of a big deal, less of a big deal, less of a big deal. But I had just worked myself up to this point of no return. And it's, looking back now, just made me remember to just be completely present and stop fighting against what is actually going on for me. And that what I am used to, I'll probably say this every episode, but how I'm used to behaving is completely different now. And just knowing that it is going to be completely different now. And that's hard and that's weird and that makes me feel a little bit crazy. And also, I will talk about it with you. And I think that's also a thing, Walnut, where it seems like I'm struggling or complaining, but I think especially here in New Zealand, we suffer from, not just women, from tall poppy syndrome, where we don't like a complainer and we don't like to sound like a whinger. And I think that's where all this defensiveness is coming from, where I try and stick up for myself by saying, I'm not struggling, I'm just vocal. I think that's a whole different side note podcast episode on itself, but I do want to really make a point. I'll just let you know now that I want to share all aspects of this, and I just feel like I am not one of those women who is going to enjoy this experience. Most days I'm fine and feel normal. But there are other days where, in spirals, where things just, I really feel mad. And it's really hard and it's really emotional and really, really stressful. And those things don't, or that I saw when I wasn't in this condition, don't get spoken about really. So I just think that those, just being vocal about how you're feeling and what you're going through, regardless of what condition you have, is super important, Walnut, and especially if you're a Kiwi in New Zealand. It's not complaining. If you know the right places to go to, or you know your support systems, even if you're like me and you didn't listen to them for the first portion of it, but if you know your places and your systems and where to go and what to do when you genuinely are struggling, just know that it's okay to be vocal and it's okay to use your voice, and it's okay to not even vent, because it's not a complaint. It's actually just expressing an emotion or a feeling. And just because it's not the happy version doesn't mean that it's bad or wrong, I think is what I'm getting at. So I'm kind of like validating my spiral, but also a little bit of a lesson in that, Walnut, is just, again, to just take things as they, for me, to take things as they come and as for what they are, and try not to get overworked. But I feel like now that I've had this big spiral and this big like stress session, that might, the next time that happens to me, I might be like, oh, okay, woosah. Remember last time when you messed yourself up for a whole day, from just stressing yourself out for literally this tiny thing. So yeah, on that, Walnut, I'm gonna end the episode there. And I just want to also say before we wrap up, Walnut, if you were my friend who talked me off a ledge, not the actual ledge and not in that context, but who really dropped a little line to give myself a break, and were really graceful with me and really kind and told me not to worry, even though I know I was being annoying, and I know that I was being annoying because I didn't listen to you the first time you said it's fine, no big deal. I just want you to know, thank you so much for being my friend, and I'm so grateful for you, and I'm so lucky that I have a friend like you in my life. So when you hear this, you know that this long message is for you. And I'm not going to say I'm sorry, but I am grateful for you and I love you. So Walnut, happy Walnut Wednesday. Let me know what you think. If you've had a similar spiral, despite what condition you're in the walnut tree, feel free to post in there, jump on a live video. You can even post anonymously, I believe, if you don't want your name attached to anything. But let's just keep these conversations going. It's kind of important to like as much as we love sunshine and rainbows and fluffy box of chocolates, it also is not like that all the time. And if it was, I think it would suck because you wouldn't actually realize how divine that actually feels when the happy is at its happiest, because you need to have. Anyway, you know what I'm trying to say. Have a happy Walnut Wednesday, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.